Evening, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging in there with us. We very much appreciate it. My name is Barbara Griffin, and I have the privilege of welcoming you to this evening's pre-convention Zoom meeting about Meet the Candidates. And so it'll be my pleasure to introduce to you half of our candidate slate, which I'll explain to you shortly. But before I begin, I want to take this opportunity to do two things. One is I want to acknowledge the work of the current state board of directors. They have been diligent and ongoing, and I really appreciate their work. I'm sure you do as well. Some of them have agreed to be candidates once again. Others, for various reasons, are not going to be on the board, but are willing, of course, to be supportive, and we appreciate them making way for other new local leaders to step forward. So we're very appreciative of their efforts and we thank them. I understand that from Nancy that there will be some recognition at the convention, so we thank them. I also want to take this opportunity to thank the nominating committee. And Susan, if you will advance us one slide, please. There we go. Uh, this is the existing nominating committee. In addition to myself, we have Susan Bell, who is the president of the Greenville League, and who, if you don't already know her, you will be seeing her quite a bit as she is one of the hosts of the convention. Susan also is very talented in electronics, and so she's going to be manning the PowerPoint. So we're very pleased. Thank you, Susan. I also want to recognize Matt Saltman. Matt comes from the Clemson League. He is also one of the members who will be re-upping, and I'll explain how that's going to work when we get a little further into the session. Want to acknowledge Karen Woods. Karen is a jack of many trades, but one of the things is she's one of the founders of the York League, and she serves as president, and we appreciate all of her work. And finally, over in the corner there is Janelle Rivers. Janelle is a long-term League of Women Voters member. She comes from the Columbia League, and she is also on the state board, has been for some time, and her area of specialty is in advocacy, particularly in the area of education. I want to take this opportunity to thank all four of the team members, and we appreciate your service. Susan, if you'll advance to the next slide, please. So, as with all meetings, if you can ever get them launched, we do have a few protocols, and they are very few this evening. If you've not already done so, and I appreciate Lynn saying something, we do ask that you place yourself on mute, but I want to assure you, you will have ample opportunity to ask questions or make comments as we work our way through tonight's presentation. So rest assured, those opportunities will present themselves and they'll be pretty logically placed. I want to also take this opportunity to assure all of you that we didn't just make this up as we went. League elections are governed by the bylaws. That's true at the national level, at the state level, and at the local level. And uh, for the most part, at the state, national, and local level, they're pretty compatible and very similar. So I will say to you that as it relates to elections, it's really a two-part process. There will be officers and directors and nominating committee members who will be elected at the convention on Saturday. And then at the very first meeting of the newly elected incoming board, I'll say that 1,000 times tonight, um, There will be additional directors appointed. There will be additional members of the nominating committee appointed, as well as off-board and committee members. So it's a two-part process. Don't know the exact reason why, but that's the way it is, and probably for good reasons. So I just wanted to assure you we didn't make this all up. It is part of the process. Susan, if you'll advance. Going to make a few key points, big picture. The officers, which consists of the president, vice presidents, the secretary and treasurer, they are elected at convention. So we will be introducing those people that we are nominating and recommending for officers for you this evening. A like number, there will be 6 directors. I think it says 6 or 7 in the bylaws. 6 directors that we will be offering to you this evening, who will also be elected at convention. But as I indicated a few minutes ago, there will be other directors who will be appointed by the newly elected incoming board at their very first meeting. Also, about half, actually 3/5 of the nominating committee will be elected at convention. And then the remaining individuals will be elected by the newly elected incoming board. So those that will be nominated are the chair and 2 members, and so we'll introduce them to you this evening. The new board will serve for 2 years, Susan. And then I wanted to mention to you also that the procedures absolutely allow for nominations to be taken from the floor during the election portion of the convention. But the only thing I would caution is that nominees from the floor must provide their prior consent before their name is entered for consideration. So those are the basic rules. There's more to it than that, but that pretty much is how we're operating. Next, Susan. So now let's talk about, we're going to first begin with officers. And our nominating committee is actually pretty proud. We feel like we've been able to assemble a really good and wise and experienced slate of officers and directors and really capable people with a lot of experience to join. And we have filled or we have identified nominees for every position that we think will be needed, except we have been absolutely unsuccessful in identifying anyone to serve as president. We do not have a candidate for that position. Now, we could be stressed by that, but fortunately, the bylaws provide us with 3 options, and I'm going to outline those to you tonight. The first is that the delegates at the convention have the option of actually nominating and voting on a prospective presidential candidate. I would remind you that you need the person's permission before you enter their name in as candidate. If they are elected, they would serve as president. If, however, we are not successful in identifying a presidential candidate, then at the first meeting of the newly elected incoming board, the board will have the opportunity to do one of 2 things. They will have the opportunity to appoint a president pro tem to oversee the board meetings, or they have the option of electing a management team. I won't go into a great deal of detail because that's not what we're voting on at convention, but I wanted to assure you that the bylaws do provide for procedures and processes in the event we cannot identify a president as part of the incoming slate. Moving to the other positions, we begin with the Vice President of Issues and Action, and I'm very pleased to say that Lynn Teague has agreed to continue. She will be returning in that capacity. Lynn is from the Columbia League. She is the volunteer league lobbyist at the State House. She works with two other people, Janelle Rivers and Teresa Arnold, and they make a formidable team, and we're very pleased that they will be joining us again. Next, we have returning Joan Zaleski. Joan is on the board now and has served as Vice President of Voter Services. Joan is a past president of the Charleston League, and before she was president, she also headed up our voter services efforts. So we are thrilled that Joan will also be returning. Next, please. Then we have a member from the past who stepped forward, and we are thrilled. Her name is Laurel Suggs. She's from the Columbia League, and she has served in years past in many capacities, including president of the Columbia League, and she also served as president of the state board from 1999 to 2005. She brings with her not only a wealth of experience and knowledge, but she's agreed to lend her efforts and hand at serving as our treasurer. So we're very pleased to welcome her back to the fold. Next, please. Then I also want to introduce to you, some of you may know, Paula Eggleston. Paula is the outgoing president of the Charleston League, and she has agreed to serve as secretary. Paula is recently retired. She spent the bulk of her career in education, has co-authored books on research-based strategies, and we think that she will be a wonderful addition to our state board. So those people represent the officers that we will be voting on Saturday. Before I move to the 6 directors and talk about them, are there any questions that anyone wants to raise or any comments? Any questions, comments?
There's a question in the chat room.
Okay, I'm looking. With no opposition, are the candidates elected by acclamation? Actually, with no opposition, since this is a committee recommendation slate, there is no second necessary, and the voting will proceed, I guess, by acclamation. Nancy, are you on the call?
Yes, I just answered that question, and I said I will ask for nominations from the floor. If there are no nominations from the floor, the slate can be accepted with a single vote, yes.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Appreciate your input. You know, you try to anticipate every conceivable question and you always miss one. Or maybe two, we'll find out soon. Hearing no other questions, we'll move on to what we are recommending for the 6 director positions. I want to remind everyone that we will be electing 6 directors at the convention, and then at the first meeting of the newly elected incoming board, they will be electing and appointing another, I think it's 5 directors to serve. Incoming is for our Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion is David Keeley. David comes from York County. He is a medical doctor by practice, with over 30 years of experience, a graduate of Wake Forest University's medical school. He is going to be bolstered by a team of local league members who represent kind of the diversity of our local leagues, and we hope will provide the kind of welcoming environment that we hope the league represents. Thank you. Next one, Susan. I'm also pleased to introduce to you, if you don't already know her, Christine Haight. Christine is the outgoing president of the Columbia League of Women Voters and will serve as our director of membership. She has served in a variety of capacities in the Columbia League, including, for example, director of voter participation. She's been worked with the Observer Corps. She's been with the nominating committee. We think that she will bring to the state board and to the membership process a lot of experience and capability, and we thank her for joining us. Next, please. Dahlia Handman serves as the co-president of the League of Women Voters of the Hamilton Bluffton area. She's also previously served as vice president. She will be in a new position, director of governance. She has a lifetime of experience in public and nonprofit management and governance. She serves as the chair for a governance committee in her community, and we think that she will bring a lot of real expertise to this important effort. Next, please. Also want to take this opportunity to introduce to you Lawson Wetley. Lawson is a former president of the Greenville League and serves on the current state board. She's going to be the director of state and national policy. Now, this is a slightly new position. In the past, we've had a person who was the director of state policy and a person who was the director of national policy. But in truth, those public policy positions have to be compatible. So it occurred to us that we probably should combine the position. And with Lawson's background and expertise as a corporate transactional attorney, we thought that she would do a wonderful job in helping us bring those two disciplines together. So we thank Lawson. And I would mention that Lawson will be conducting a pre-convention meeting tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock, if you'd like to register for that. And she will be outlining some of the priorities that we have identified for program for the state. So we thank Lawson. Also want to acknowledge Hannah Parker. Hannah is from the Florence Local League. She will be our new Director of Development. Hannah comes to us having served at the local level. She's currently on the state board and has also worked on the national board on their governance committee and many off-board activities. She is our outgoing DEI director, so she's always available to assist with that. But she will be heading up our fundraising efforts and development efforts, and we really appreciate her dedicating her efforts in that direction. Thank you, Hannah. And finally, of the six, let me introduce to you Sherry Walker. Some of you may know Sherry. She is currently on the board. She comes from Pickens Oconee Local League. She is our Director of Electronic Communications, and it is from Sherry that you receive e-blasts and action alerts. And she has most recently been right in the middle of the development of the Women Defend Democracy action alerts that you may already know about and be engaged in. So those are our 6 proposed nominees for the board of directors. And I want to state to you one more time that additional directors will be voted on and appointed by the newly elected incoming board when they meet in June. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to our nomination committee. And that will be that there will be 3 people that will be voted on at the upcoming meeting on Saturday. We are recommending Judy Pepper to serve as chair. Judy comes from the Charleston Local League, where she serves as the vice president of administration, working closely with the president and the membership director. She has been active in the local community for many years, and she also serves as a counsel to the nominating committee in the Charleston area. So she has a lot of expertise that we really appreciate. Also, next would be Bernard Hamilton. Bernard is the co-president of the League of Women Voters um, from Anderson. He is very active in the Anderson community and serves as youth director for the Anderson chapter of the NAACP, among many other tasks. He also has the unique experience of being maybe the only person we'll have on the whole board and nominating committee that loves singing. So I'm going to put you all on notice. He might break out in tune at any time. So we thank Bernard for stepping forward. And finally, I want to acknowledge Joyce Solomon. Joyce is the only, she may not be the only person, but she may be close to the only person that I know who's actually been a member of 3 different state leagues. She originally joined in New York, then moved to Broward County, Florida, where she joined, and now she is in South Carolina. So she brings with her not only years of experience, but also perspectives from from other states, which I think will be valuable and worthwhile. So again, those are the 3 nominees for the nominating committee, and the newly elected incoming state board will make the final appointments. Are there any questions or comments with regard to the nominating committee? So, hearing none, that really is the end of our presentation. I did want to give you all one last opportunity to make any comments, raise any questions before we close the meeting out. Hearing none, I see a raised hand. Let's see.
I am new to, this is my first convention. I'm coming from Columbia. I expected, I guess, on the Zoom to hear from the candidates. I was surprised not to.
Well, we went back and forth on this issue because there are so many people. We were reluctant to take up too much of your time, but we're more than happy to open it up for discussion. Um, is there anyone on any of the nominees who'd like to speak to the group? Or, I mean, we have so many, I just want to make sure we use our time wisely. So any recommendations as to how you'd prefer to proceed? Elaine, is there anybody you in particular would like to hear from?
Um, anyone? I just thought, that's just been the usual procedure and in any other organization. That's why I got on the Zoom, but that's okay. You know,
Oh, we're very, I don't think I prepared them and told them to be prepared to do this, but we certainly will welcome any comments anybody would like to make. Are there any comments from any of the candidates?
Elaine, this is Susan Bell. I was on the nominating committee. I think the other reason that we didn't ask all the candidates to speak is because there's no opposition. I mean,
Right.
to the slate that was proposed, and also several of them are returning in their roles, they're current board members. But having said that, we have wonderful folks who'd be happy to tell you whatever you'd like.
I hear you, and I am thrilled by the descriptions. Just as in my first convention, you know, I was just surprised, that's all, but I'm going with the flow.
We sort of anticipated that somebody would ask the question, and we appreciate you raising it. Thank you. We're trying to balance time management and those sorts of things with having so many candidates. But do any of the candidates want to make any comments? Please feel free.
Barbara, I'll be happy to.
Very good.
This is Laurel Suggs. I'm the nominee for state treasurer. And you probably looked at what was written about me and saw that I was last state president in 2005 and wondered where the heck I've been for 20 years. In that year, that's when my children all got married. I started having grandchildren. I had to focus on my career. I retired almost 2 years ago, and I'm thrilled to be back in the leadership position at the State League, and I'm very excited. I feel like since 2005, when I was president, we've come a long way financially. Things are much more stable. And I think the caliber of the other candidates is just tremendous. And there's so many people that I used to work with that some are still very active, and that's just thrilling. League is in our blood. I was raised, my mother was president. If she wasn't at home, she was at the league office. So it's in my blood, and I'm thrilled to be back, and I'm looking forward to getting to be friends and colleagues with many of you.
See, I know you so much more now that I hear a little, thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Let me
think
point
John's
out just for fun
great.
here that Laurel's mother's vote dress is part of the permanent collections at the USC political collections, the Hollings.
Very nice.
It's
Very
it's
nice.
if you ever get a chance to see it, it's extremely nice.
Mm-hmm.
So
Did you want to say something? Thank you, Lynn.
Yes, and I love talking to someone who's coming to their this is Joan, by the way, coming to their first convention. I think my first convention might have been in the 1970s. That's how long I've been a league member. I was a league member in New York, living in a place on Long Island that didn't have a league. And so I was encouraged and mentored by a neighboring league to start a league. And so I really jumped in right at the beginning. And I think my experience in that small league made me realize about the importance of volunteering and having people give of their time. So I'm happy, Elaine, that you've joined the meeting even tonight to be interested in who your leaders are going to be. And I encourage you to become more involved, and one day you may be on the board as well. So
can I
congrats.
just,
Yeah.
thank you, Joan. Can I just jump in real quickly? I know there's a couple other hands up, but there's a comment from Rhonda in the chat that says, as a relatively new member, I wondered what the directors for each of the 6 areas see as the most pressing issues and what they hope to accomplish. So Rhonda, were you talking about the 6 like DEI and those, or
Yes.
who do you want to hear from?
Yes.
Okay.
I assume that the reason for having those director positions is that those are key areas that the league wants to, has issues and wants to make progress on. So, but I'm a relatively new member, so I don't know the history of any of that. So yeah, that was what was behind my question there.
We don't have all of the candidates on this evening, but is there anybody who's a candidate for one of the director positions who'd like to comment on?
I
Uh,
would.
Sure.
Hi, I'm
There
Christine.
you are.
Yeah, here I am. And I appreciate Rhonda's question. I'm looking forward to, in terms of a pressing issue, it's always pressing that we engage our members and that we recruit new members. And so I'm really excited about the opportunity to work with all of the leaders at the state level to make sure that we are helping our membership directors at the local level do all they can to get the word out about how wonderful working in the league is and being a league member is, all of the advantages, all of the possibilities. And then also, of course, working with the members at large, which is an important part of this particular position. So I thank Rhonda for that question.
Christine, I might also add that this is a period of transition in terms of membership. The National League is changing some of the rules by which.
Absolutely.
And so one of the things that I know you'll be engaged in is kind of helping local leagues through that transition because they're pretty fundamental, they're pretty basic changes that.
Sure. Particularly, I assume you're talking about chapter spot and all of the challenges that come with that. Absolutely. So I think we have to make sure we are educating our members and communicating, consistently and regularly with our new members.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Paula, I think you had your hand up, and then we've got Lawson.
Okay, here we go. Real quickly, I, like many of the people that are going to be on the board and that have been on the state board, we've had a variety of different positions, and for me, secretary is definitely a new position for me. I haven't done it in quite a long time, and I guess my reason for wanting to be on the board is I see the state board as being, as some others have mentioned, at a time when we're moving to the next level, as far as legislatively, what's happening federally. We're being asked to do more and different kinds of things. There's certainly the financial aspect. So I see it as a real roads for the league. And I would say I'm not a director, but I would say one of the things that has really popped up and we need to be very supportive of in many ways is advocacy, not only for our lobbyists, but the local league with more and supportive training for them as things pop up weekly that we need to respond to.
Thank you very much, Paula. Appreciate your input very much. Lawson, I think you had your hand up next.
I did. Thank you so much. I just wanted, Rhonda, that's a really great question. And I just wanted to take a sec to respond to it. So I have been for the past 2 years, the quote unquote state program director. So I'm the liaison between local leagues and the state board about state level policy issues. And assuming that I'm elected to the position I'm being nominated for, I will be taking on, in addition to that, a similar position with respect to national issues. So Rhonda and Elaine and other new folks, you might or might not be aware that the league, while we are very much nonpartisan, we have a lot of policy positions. We are very much political at the national level, at the state level, and for some of our local leagues at the local level, we have policy positions that we have studied and come to conclusions about. And so one thing I love about the league is we're all here in South Carolina, we're all volunteers, right? Everybody on the board, all the local league leaders, we are all volunteers. And frankly, that means among other things, we get to do what we feel passionate about, right? Nobody's signing our paycheck and telling us what to do. And so one thing that's exciting for me is that for local league members, for local leagues, as long as there is a policy position at the national or state level that supports what you want to be doing in your local communities, you can do that, right? We are powered by the passion of the people who are stepping in to do this work. So I can tell you what I want to be focusing on over the next 2 years is to maximize helping people who want to harness their passion to take action. I want to help facilitate that, right? So for example, we have policy positions about environmental issues. If there are like local environmental concerns that you and your local league have, I want to help be a resource to you to work on that. If you fill in the blank, there are so many policy positions, and I'll be talking more about the state level ones at tomorrow's program planning session. But I guess the thing that I most wanted to say was, that's the essence of what I want to do. I want to be a resource and to help the people who want to take action get what they need to take that action. And so for everyone on this meeting, just feel free to reach out to me. If there's something that your local league wants to be working on, that you want to be working on, here I am. I want to help you do that to the extent possible.
Thank you, Lawson. Very much appreciate your comments. Let's call on Hannah, and then Sherry, I think, has her hand up as well. Hannah, did you? Oh, there you are.
Sure, Barbara. Thank you for the floor. And Rhonda, thank you so very much for that question. I'm pretty direct with my answer. So what do I hope to make progress on? As Nancy mentioned in the chat, we have a strategic plan. And over the past couple of years, we've had a number of conversations with regard to basically raising money. How do we do this work? While we're volunteers, we have really a mad passion for what we do. We have some really great people, as you know, that go to the State House day in and day out and operate on behalf of the league. And while we are healthy, healthier than what we were 20 years ago, there's still a lot of work to do. It seems as though we have even more competing interests, right? Everyone's receiving these emails asking for $5 here, $2 there. It takes money, right? It takes time and money, and it takes the people with resources to do that. And fortunately or unfortunately, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Well, we need a lot of grease to make sure our wheels are continuing to roll. If I'm elected, and as the outgoing DEI director, one thing that I've really been impressed with, and what I've tried to impress upon the board, is DEI in everything. Like, let's think outside of the box, even though I hate to use that term, but let's think of other ways that we can engage not only the voters, but the communities in which we serve. Let's figure out how we can engage further the members that are currently serving at whatever capacity, at whatever level they're serving. But let's also see how we can further engage them, not only with their time and their talent, but quite frankly, their money. And so that's what I'm looking forward to doing. We have some very great, talented people who are currently on the board, really great, talented people who are serving within our local leagues. Let's capitalize on all of that energy, that spirit, and let's see how we can bring more people to the table. That's really what I think we need to focus on. And I'm here to help the board if you all decide to move forward with my candidacy and bring me on board for the next biennium.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And Sherry, I think you had your hand up next.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for that question, Rhonda, and this opportunity. So I'm the candidate for Director of Electronic Communications. I've held that position for the last 2 years. And I think my key word that everything we work on is engagement, which you've heard that a lot tonight, but it's to me crucial. And I look at it as engagement of potential volunteers as well as our current volunteers. So a lot of my role is just coordinating all these communications that we send out, from the action alerts that we get through our advocates, Lynn Teague, Janelle, and Teresa. When there's something really crucial at the State House, then we send out this alert. Sometimes we target them to specific people. Other times it goes to the whole league. So I think that really motivates us to get those actions out there. And then we also do the um, regular communication that we do usually once every other week or so to just keep all the members informed as to what's going on. And then just in the last 2 months, because of the changing political climate, we have started doing the weekly action alert. And so we send out once a week a list of actions on a national, state, and local level. And again, all focused on engagement because we all want to do something or we wouldn't be in the league. And so we're trying to provide pathways for that engagement. So that's really my priority. And I hope to continue that work for the next couple of years.
Sherry, thank you very much. I think Elaine has her hand up again. Did you have your hand up again, Elaine?
Yes, I have a
Oh.
question to Sherry.
Go ahead.
Okay. So the question is, why aren't you sending out alerts to all the members? I heard that you said some are targeted.
Yes. So when we do a when we're asking members to contact a specific senator or representative,
Okay.
we like, for example, they might be on a committee that is holding a meeting. And so we only need the members who are represented by that committee to contact them. And so that's what I mean by targeting is when we have very specific asks that we need our members to do it usually revolves around committee assignments. Then we target those. But then when the bills come up to the whole legislature, then we send out to all the members for those. Does that answer your question about targeting?
Well, I know I am a very rare animal, somebody who actually lives near the State House and goes to subcommittee meetings and speaks up at the mic. So I've just to let you know that hopefully we can empower more people in the Columbia area to go to the State House on all issues, that they're all interconnected. And we pretty much know a lot of the legislators.
Thank you. I appreciate your work on that.
And thank you, Elaine. As chance would have it, Lynn Teague had her hand already raised, so I'll call on Lynn and you can make comments about whatever you choose.
Okay. Yeah, I would say, we also do send out alerts that ask people to send in subcommittee testimony, which is a broader approach. It depends on where we are and what we think is most effective in that case. And Elaine, we speak frequently. I'd be happy to talk to you about this further if you'd like. But the reason I really initially raised my hand, I think everybody knows that I've been down there a long time at the State House for the League. This was my 14th year, although not as vice president the first couple of years. And everybody gets to hear about that plenty when I do the monthly updates, so I'm not going to try to talk about that. I just wanted to add that one of the things I've been working on now for I think about 4 years is making sure that the advocacy program at the State House is not a one-person show. Because that's what it was when I took it over, and that's what it was for quite a while. And we want a tightly focused group of lobbyists, but we need to make sure, because frankly, just swamping them with people in general and they don't know who represents who doesn't really work very well. So we need a handful of registered lobbyists. But one of the things I've been working on is making sure that is not a one-person show. Teresa and Janelle have been very, very important part of the advocacy at the State House now for several years. Lynn Hammond has been helping with education this year, assisting Janelle. We have put away even money to make sure that if we needed to acquire the help of a contract lobbyist, that the funds were there. And so
aside from the specific things that we're doing at the State House, we're looking at how to make a strong, stable, lasting presence there.
Well, thank you, Lynn. Very much appreciate your comments and additions. Is there anybody else whose hand is raised? It seems like we had one other person, but I don't see a raised hand. Any final comments or words of wisdom anybody would like to share? Well, I look forward to seeing all of you over the weekend at the convention, and I thank you for your excellent questions and good input. Very much appreciated. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Barbara.